Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through the noise to look at what could be a really significant move, maybe the most significant yet, to expand the real-world utility of the XRP ledger.
It's a big one. We're moving beyond just faster payments here.
Way beyond. This is about building out institution-grade yield and, tokenizing the world's actual wealth.
That's it, exactly. And for our deep dive, we're focusing squarely on one very specific development. A collaboration announced back on December 17th between SBI Ripple Asia and a company called Doppler Finance.
Right, and this isn't just a simple partnership, is it? It feels more like they're laying down a foundational framework.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's
Yeah.
the framework for what people are now calling XRP-Fi institutional finance, built directly on XRP.
So our mission today is to unpack this whole thing. We've looked at the sources you provided, and it seems to break down into three key strategic areas. First, we have to understand the big picture, right? This joint goal of pushing institutional-grade finance onto the XRPL. Then second, we'll get into the mechanism, the specialized yield infrastructure that Doppler is bringing to the table.
And that part is critical.
It is. And finally, we'll tackle what feels like the ultimate goal here, the tokenization of real-world assets, or RWA. This whole thing just signals a massive acceleration.
It really does. It's about how digital assets are integrating with, traditional finance.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's start with the players. You got to understand the synergy here. On one side, you have Doppler Finance. They're a specialized provider, and their whole world is yield infrastructure. Think of them as building the financial pipelines.
Okay, the technical side.
The technical, regulated side.
Right.
And then on the other side, you have SBI Ripple Asia. They're an absolute giant, entrenched in the region, with a massive footprint in Japan and all across Asia.
So they're the market access point,
The-
integrator.
Exactly, the key integrator within the XRPL ecosystem.
And their stated goal seems incredibly specific. It's to explore collaboration on yield infrastructure and RWA tokenization.
Laser focused. This isn't a broad, vague agreement.
No. It feels like they're deliberately moving beyond retail speculation. They want the big fish, the kind of large-scale capital that really defines institutional finance.
They're building a regulated on-ramp for the big desks. It's as simple as that.
And the market signal here, I mean, the sources really highlight this, is that this is Doppler's first official collaboration with an XRPL native protocol.
Right, referring to SBI Ripple Asia. And that's a huge vote of confidence. When a sophisticated yield provider like Doppler decides to integrate deeply with a major geographically focused partner like SBI.
A partner that already has decades of experience navigating those complex Asian regulatory waters.
Precisely. It basically confirms that institutional confidence in XRP-Fi isn't just a theory anymore. It's actively maturing. For so long, the whole story on the XRPL was just speed and low cost for payments.
For cross-border payments, yeah.
This completely shifts the narrative. The utility moves toward capital formation and, well, asset management.
But let me ask this, because I think some people might be wondering. If the XRPL already exists, why do they need to build this extra infrastructure on top of it? Doesn't that feel a bit redundant, adding layers to something that's supposed to be simple?
That's a really, really good question.
Yeah.
And the answer gets to the heart of what they're doing. It's the difference between an efficient payment rail and a compliant yield platform.
Okay.
The XRPL provides the raw speed and the low cost.
Yeah.
But institutional money, it demands two things the ledger by itself doesn't provide:
Which are?
regulatory oversight for the access points and predictable, transparent yield generation.
Yeah.
This collaboration combines SBI's established trust with Doppler's regulated operational integrity.
So the goal is to speed up the rollout of on-chain yield that has compliance like KYC and AML baked in from the start.
Above all else, it's about making the whole on-chain world feel familiar and trustworthy to a traditional fund manager.
Okay, that makes sense. If that's the case, then we really need to look closer at Doppler Finance. What exactly is their secret sauce? What is their strategy for delivering this institutional yield without taking on crazy risks?
Well, Doppler's core mission is to move crypto holders, especially the big institutional ones, past just holding an asset
Right, past just sitting on it.
and into actively generating a return. They're fundamentally trying to transform XRP from a purely transactional asset into a productive, an interest-bearing one.
And what's so interesting from the sources is how they do it. It's not pure DeFi. They use this hybrid strategy they call CeDeFi.
Yes, The blend.
It's this mix of centralized operational control, the kind of oversight institutions' absolute demand, with the transparency and efficiency of a decentralized ledger.
Exactly. They get the speed of the XRPL, but they maintain the legal and regulatory compliance that's non-negotiable in places like Japan. That blend of CeFi and DeFi principles, that's their moat. It's what allows them to offer these products.
And we can see it's working. I mean, the numbers show real traction.
Oh, absolutely. The success is measurable. At the time the source material was compiled, their total value locked the TVL was pretty significant.
What was the number?
It was over $78.8 million, which is what, roughly 12.2 billion yen?
Yeah.
For a focused protocol that's just getting started with institutional yield on the XRPL, that's a substantial amount of capital already on board.
That TVL really does show that the model has legs. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk brass tacks. For you listening, this is where it gets tangible. The yield. What are the actual numbers they're using to attract these big asset managers?
Okay, looking at the specific APYs really defines their whole strategy. For deposited XRP, the annual percentage yield is 3.5%.
3.5%.
That's the baseline for the native asset.
Now, let me push back on that for a second. 3.5% is, it's certainly better than what you get from most traditional bank accounts these days.
Sure.
But for a savvy crypto audience where you see staking rewards on other chains that can be much, much higher, is 3.5% really competitive enough to draw in serious institutional money?
That is the key distinction you have to make. You have to view that 3.5% figure through a very specific lens. This is yield from a product designed for and adhering to institutional compliance standards.
So you're not comparing it to some anonymous DeFi pool.
Not at all. It's not competing with a 10% APY from some unaudited pseudonymous protocol. It's competing with the low single digits you get from traditional treasury markets or other regulated fixed income products.
Ah, so the premium isn't just from the crypto mechanism, it's from the regulatory wrapper around it. It's a yield for safety trade-off.
Exactly. That clarifies the risk profile they're targeting.
Okay, I get it. What about stablecoins? Because that's usually where you see the real appetite for liquidity.
And that's the true magnet here. For their stablecoin, RLUSD, the offered APY is much higher. It comes in at 8.5%.
Wow, okay, 8.5%.
Now that is where institutions see a really compelling return. Those are attractive figures that, when you combine them with the regulatory oversight we're about to get into, make the whole thing highly disruptive to, say, traditional money market funds.
That 8.5% creates the liquidity needed to really get the ecosystem going.
It bootstraps the whole thing.
So if the yield mechanism is the engine, then the whole point of this partnership is to load that engine with cargo. And that cargo is real-world assets RWA. This feels like the holy grail for this whole bridging concept.
RWA is the natural conclusion. It's the end game. Fundamentally, it's just about taking real, tangible value from the physical world or traditional markets and creating a digital token that represents it on the blockchain.
And once you do that, you immediately give those assets all the benefits of the digital world.
Instantly. You get the efficiency of digital settlement, the potential for fractional ownership, global liquidity.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
And the sources show they're thinking really broadly about what RWA can be. They aren't just looking at one thing.
No, it's a very wide mandate. We're talking about physical stuff like real estate, unique art, even things like collectible trading cards.
But just as important, they're including traditional securities, things like stocks and bonds.
And that's the tell. That ambition shows they're not just aiming for niche markets. They want to capture the market cap of the entire traditional financial world.
But to do that, to tokenize assets with that much value stocks, property, you need an absolutely ironclad regulatory structure.
You do.
Yeah.
And this is where we really get into the weeds on compliance. The strategy isn't just about saying they're compliant. It's about proving it with regulated partners in very strategic places.
So this whole push into Japan isn't just about grabbing market share. It's tied directly to building regulatory confidence.
Precisely. And the single most critical piece of institutional competence is custody. The where are my assets actually held question.
I got it.
The sources confirm that the custody solutions for this entire initiative are being provided by SBI Digital Markets. And the crucial part, the detail that matters most, is that SBI Digital Markets is regulated by the Singapore Financial Authority,
MAS.
globally known as MAS.
And that MAS regulation is the signal. That's what gives it global institutional trust. Singapore is seen as one of the top digital asset hubs in the world.
It is. The MAS stamp of approval is like a universal confidence booster. Think about it. If you have institutional capital looking to enter a new market, like Japan, which SBI serves so well, having their assets physically held by An entity regulated by a global gold standard like MAS just drastically lowers the perceived risk. It signals that the highest international standards for security and auditability are being met.
So it's a two-pronged strategy. You've got the regulatory security from MAS custody, plus the financial performance from the CeDFI yield.
That's the clearest picture of their strategy. It's that combination.
This whole architecture,
Yeah.
it feels like the necessary template. You have regulated custody providing the trust, CeDFI providing the engine, and then RWA as the massive market opportunity. Any blockchain that wants real institutional adoption needs this.
It really is the template. You simply cannot get a pension fund to tokenize its bond portfolio without meeting these kinds of rigorous global mandates.
Hmm.
By using a regulated entity like SBI Digital Markets under MES oversight, they just leapfrog a huge barrier to entry that other, less regulated protocols are still struggling with.
And that broader vision, it's just summed up perfectly in that quote from the SBI Ripple Asia spokesperson. They said that Doppler's institutional framework, combined with their deep expertise, it creates a robust foundation to expand XRP's utility.
They didn't stop there, though. The next part is key. They explicitly said they look forward to bridging traditional finance with the evolving on-chain ecosystem.
Right.
So this isn't just a product launch. This is the construction of a permanent, regulated bridge between two financial worlds, one leveraging the strengths of the other.
That's the perfect synthesis for this deep dive. So, to recap this massive undertaking we've just unpacked, this collaboration between XBI Ripple Asia and Doppler Finance is strategically built to inject regulated yield and RWA tokenization directly onto the XOPL.
Yep. They're marrying the strict regulatory rigor that institutions demand, specifically that MAS custody, with the financial innovation of their CeDFI model.
And at the end of the day, this whole move really elevates XRP's role.
It does. It transitions it from being just a super efficient payment token to being a high utility yield-bearing institutional asset. The MAS regulated custody provides the trust, and the attractive APYS 3.5% for XRP and that 8.5% for the stablecoin provide the incentive.
This really is the blueprint for how these digital assets can secure their place in the conventional financial world.
It
And that ultimate vision, that idea of bridging traditional finance and the evolving on-chain ecosystem, that's what it all comes down to. They've listed everything from real estate to stocks and bonds as potential RWA targets. So this leaves an important question for you, our listener, to think about. Given this very specific regulatory framework from SBI and MAS, which existing maybe illiquid asset class in traditional finance, do you think will be the next major target for tokenization on the XRPL as this bridge gets built? Think about assets that really need that high speed, low cost, and regulated fractional ownership.